now. And I'm going to, in a minute, ask Metka Hrovat. She's going to pronounce my pronunciation. And ask Metka to come to the stage. Metka's our host today. She's here at SIP. And she'll tell us a little bit more about that. She's the Exec Director of Brand and HR. So it's really good at a workplace to hear from HR as well. Thank you. Good at a workplace conference to hear from HR as well. And also she's a consultant at a company called Brand Trust. So she does brand. 25 years of experience?
Yeah.
You don't look old enough. Please
Thank
welcome Metka to the stage.
So once again, very warm welcome also from the host. Hope you're enjoying these premises, beside of course also the content of the conference. I've enjoyed the first two speakers, and I'm actually proud that what we are going to hear now and also see that later on in the premises, you're invited also to go a little bit around with me, or we have here also the company that has helped us studio list with the project, of course, Kragel Architekti, that know the premises very well, because all of the things that we've been hearing about, we can also see here in practice in a company that is a production company. And that's a company that is very traditional, I would say. Not just the company itself, also the industry we are in, agriculture, the location. It's not in Ljubljana, it's a completely different environment. And we are also located, as you've noticed, not in an industrial zone, but in the midst of a village, actually. An important part of it being a great employer, a huge employer in the past, still are an important employer. And there are so many things that with these premises that we have made, and they're occupied almost every day with different things going on here in this hall, in this conference room, that we are actually living what we stand for. One of our, just like you have explained, your core values are something that is dictating everything you do. We actually do it the same way. Not in the new premises, still we have empty walls. Haven't had the time to put our values and the brand rules on them, but in the existing premises from the before, and where most of the people still are, we have in every office our poster that I'm going to show with the values and with brand rules that we really have to appreciate and work along every day. But to introduce a little bit all of us to SIP, to where we are today. So that's a company that is 70 years old. It started, we're not going to go through with all the details, but nevertheless, I mean, it started as a small workshop here in agriculture, of course. There's an agriculture environment, so all the farmers needed some service for their machines, so that's how also SIP started. And then in every decade we can find something that has been built new, also some kind of a crisis that happened when we looked back, like, because you all know now the economy is going down everywhere. If we look at the Germany, which is an important part for Slovenia, we can see that everything's slowing down. But for us in agriculture business, it started even before. You remember probably in the Netherlands, it all started then with the cows. We are in a cow business. As you have seen, we have grassland everywhere. We are in a milk business, in a grassland harvesting business. So for us, cows are the majority of our business, milk production. So yes, of course, we are a little bit in a downsizing, but nevertheless, when we looked at the 70 years, because just this year it's 70, we can find in every decade something that was going on. So it's not something that is new, but really every decade. But just to see a little bit how it started, what were the machines that are out of our product line for quite some time. Then modernization actually started then in this century, in this millennia, so to speak, where my colleagues have started thinking about going bigger. Because as You always look at the trends, and then you see the economy is going, and also in agriculture, not just in Slovenia, we have a lot of small farms. Everybody has to have everything on their own. But then when you look, we cannot survive in Slovenia. We have to go out. The farmers are growing bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's where the production actually started changing quite a lot, because it had to be fixed for huge machines. For example, now we have the biggest mower in the world, which is a 15-meter mower. And by the way, we as SIP are the producer of the biggest end customer machinery in Slovenia. So we have, of course, producers of products that are bigger than ours, but they are not end products. So that's also one of the things where SIP has gone, especially with the new strategy, so focusing on bigger machinery, let's say 20 years ago or something. But then anyhow, the 2.8 came. You all remember the 2.8, it was a big downsize. For example, now when we look at the numbers in agriculture, actually the whole European agriculture is at the same level as we were in 2.8, so it's pretty much down. But nevertheless, company did not go very well for quite some time. So in 2012, we have started developing a new strategy. So saying in agribusiness, also brand is an important part. Brand not as a logo, brand not as a packaging, but brand as a whole. So brand as people, that's why, as Nigel also mentioned, I'm responsible not only for brand, but also for HR, because whatever we promise, this is actually the brand, and people are the one that are delivering or not delivering whatever we are promising. And then we started looking, of course, I'm not going to go very much deeper in the strategy building, but nevertheless, we have done, of course, a huge homework looking at where SIP was back then in comparison then also to our competitors. Do we have here this slide? Is it, anybody knows the red one? Is it, yeah. So where we were on the home market, where the SIP started, of course, no, just to explain a little bit, awareness, how many people know you, everybody knows you, everybody wants you, so attractiveness. At the beginning, like every brand, nobody knows you, nobody wants you, but there we were kind of an out brand, meaning a lot of people know you, but nobody wants you. When I was doing the audit on the market, the farmers said, you know, it's SIP or agriculture machinery, it's like a car. You cannot put a Skoda, for example, here under, or a Yugo, the XU. We know what Yugo actually was, a brand. So SIP was not a brand that they wanted to have, not even in Slovenia. And then we went seeing the other markets where we wanted to go. It's like Eastern markets. Okay, SIP was also back in 10 years ago, like no brand. Not many people knew us, knew the brand, nor they wanted it actually, appreciated it. So we knew if we want to build here something, we need to grow up. And then we looked also at the Western markets where the biggest potential is, but it's also the hardest, because all of those huge brands, they're all huge. I mean, Pöttinger is the first next that is 10 times bigger than we are, and okay, Fela was the one smaller but does not exist anymore, but Klaas, Kuhn, Krone, you know, also they have the trucks that you can see on a road every day, so really huge ones. For example, Kuhn does not have tractors, because whoever has the tractors, you know, tractors, it's a €500,000 machine. They are only in the business as we are, also with different products, nevertheless, but they are $2 billion company, euro company, and we are 50 million. So it's a huge difference. But we have to compete on the same market. So that was the starting point. These were looking at who our competition was back then. What was our product range? So I'm pretty sure you can see the difference from what you see here and what you see now in our saloon. And these were the marketing materials, the communication materials and everything. So this is the 10 years ago when we started, like, okay, here we are, what and how to do, what we need to do, where we need to focus on. Okay, the logo doesn't really matter very much. We changed it a little bit, but it was also according to the new strategy, because if we look at this logo, for example, yeah, it's very round. We did not find in the history anything that would speak in this positive for this Venus on bull. It just was invented in the middle of the way. Somebody felt like SIP needed something and it was there. But it's very much rounded, and as we can see, our strategy then was set to be the most robust machinery. So the most robust, simple hay harvest systems. So it defined us very much. We went into the robustness because this was something that was really came out in the market. That SIP has always been robust. But then we implemented, like, it needs to be simple, of course, to be used, but most important, like, systems. And everything you see here also is systems. It's not just systems in machinery. All the chairs you're sitting in, here, there, everywhere, you know, whatever you see, what we use, everything is thought through these systems that has defined us very, very much, from the floors, from how we combine things. But as we said, robust, then from here on, I would say then also this SIP that went into the technical, so not a lot of change, but just a little bit. If we want to communicate something technical, then we also have to be recognized as a logo, but still not destroy everything that has been done in the future, because this, we say one word, equity of SIP brand is robustness. So this was back then, so like a follower. We defined ourselves a follower, and we also defined what robust means and what robust does not mean. So we are not fighting with each other, but nevertheless it means how we differ also then from our competitors, what we are building in the machines, what we are not, that there are not supposed to be any plastic parts that are just there for the design-wise, but really need to have a function. If it doesn't have a function, then we don't need it. It doesn't go into the simpleness and so on and so on. So these are all also for our R&D department, or especially for the R&D department, very important insights, what and how they need to do. This is our value set. So that's something that we came to, what we are. Not something that we just built sitting at the table, but really going through all the process of defining what the core values of SIP are, and we defined where we want to grow. So this was 10 years ago, and then 5 years later, most of the goals set in 2013 have been met. So from the follower strategy, then we said, okay, what's next? What can we do next? So everybody that is coming here, especially from the R&D department, will still get these sparkles in the eyes, because everything that we have said as a follower has been done. Big brands have started copying us and so on. So what's next? And then we defined pretty much the same strategy. I mean, we are still in the hay harvesting, or we redefined it actually into grassland harvesting, because we have found out then on the way that hay is also something different, does not mean the same on every market. There are different wordings than in French, in German, in English and so on. And then we said, okay, we are going to be in a grassland, because this is something that everybody really relates to in our business, but we are getting into be the leading one. And now it gets also to the premises and to everything, because from bad to good, it's an easy job. And whatever you take in your hands with the strategy, whatever you do, it's visible. It's really, you know, big changes. But then from good to excellent, it really takes every small detail. And it also goes very much then into the behavior, into the culture, in everything that you need to change. And expecting that something is going to change and you change nothing, we all know it's not going to happen. And that's why then we also said, as the company is our most important marketing tool, so to say. It's the biggest touch point, brand touch point. was even before, because people still in the Western think Slovenia somewhere, you know, black hole in East Europe. Is the quality always the same of the products? Shall we trust them? I mean, it's no romance in agriculture. It's a hard business, so if the machinery doesn't work, it means in the window of 3 days when we have to mow all the grassland and it doesn't work, we are out of, you know. There's nothing we can do then, because the next day there is something else we need to do, you know. So we are inviting a lot of, and were inviting even before, a lot of people to the company. And when they saw it, because our production is pretty much up to date, and we have invested in the production first, not in this premises first, they have been convinced that SIP is a trustworthy partner. But still, now we need to go one step further. In a way, to the leading producer, we need to change ourselves. And that's why then we said also, when we make different premises that are in the business, the leading ones, something that is different, then also expectations of ourselves is different. Whoever enters here, from our colleagues, also to the production, you can see all our colleagues in the production going there in the cafeteria, in the same path as everybody else, sitting on the same chairs, having everything the same, just what I've asked you. Then they understand, or more easily understand, we need to go to the higher level. That also our customers that are coming here, they don't have the same expectations of our behavior, of the meetings, of the products, as they had before when it was a completely different premises. And we were somewhere back there, you know, nobody could see us. Actually, everything was closed to the main street. The people from those apartments, when they saw us, I mean, it was like, what the hell's going on behind there? And now, as you can see, it's open because we are part of this community, and we are also having quite a lot of events from the community also in these premises. So this was the biggest change we have done 5 years ago, and then also started the project. And now in a couple of days, it's going to be 1 year since our first event. It was on the 13th of October last year, when in the morning we were still building this place and we were still putting this wall up, and then in the evening we had a president here with the young farmers taking the prizes for innovative young farmers. So who we are, we have defined this, that we are a European developer and producer of mowing harvesting machinery, and that we differentiate ourselves, just like I said, from the big competitors, that we are small, more adaptable, approachable actually if there is something going wrong in the market. Also our R&D team comes and looks at what has been changed. So all of the okay. All of the values, of course, are the same. We have just adopted this one, that it's not hay harvesting, but it's actually the grassland harvesting machinery. But of course, as you know from your values do not change. I mean, you pretty much have them as you go along your way. But the most important that all of us really need to know by heart in the middle of the night, and do everything that we do, every event, every material, everything it needs to be robust. It needs to build our system, enhance our system, and it has to be simple. So we are not there to make additional problems to whoever meets us, but actually to ease them. These are our product lines. I'm not going to go very much into the details, just to enhance what we are talking about, and that everything is really more or less systematic. But what we had to define also among ourselves was, who are we working for? Is our goal having the best machines or whatever, or what actually makes us get out of the bed in the morning? And we have defined, of course, like I said before, our first customer is the cow actually, and what we are doing it is for a better milk. So everything that we do is to have the food for the cows more clean, so it needs less pharmaceutical products then to make them healthy to eat, that there are not a lot of dirt in it, stones in it, and so on and so on. So this is something, but really having in mind that it's not about the machinery. Yes, the machinery is the means to the goal, but whatever we do is going there. In this. And as I've showed, we have set the markets where we want to grow, because of course just throwing money out to travel around the world does not pay off so quick. So as this is now our dealership, and you can see that really in the markets that we have defined, we have really worked through them very heavily, and that's then also the result. And this is the poster that I said we have in every office. Up here still missing, but nevertheless, also those people that are sitting here have before seated in the other offices. They know this by heart. It's only marketing and sales, and they really know it by heart. So these are our rules. So with everything we do, we ask ourselves, is it important for the ones that are sitting with us? Are we enhancing the system? Do we express this robust and simple policy? Do we behave like a specialist in our niche? Do we how to say impress our counterparts so they would recommend us further? And of course, do we express those values, at least 5 out of 6? So this is something that we really ask ourselves whenever we do whatever new, especially. And as we know that brands, like I said, everything is in people, grow from inside out. It's not what we say, it's what experiences we are actually preparing for ourselves. We are building our own fan club. It's not an official fan club, but again, with events for ourselves. And with these premises, we really got a possibility. One of the events that we have had here was the Competence Center for Design Management. And these were, for example, some of the feedbacks that they did not come to us. They just went widely open out. But I read them, and yeah, have to say that it's really nice to see that we have been recognized, because this is then really taking care about each and every detail. So it's walk the talk or talk the walk, or however we put this, but it's what we are actually really doing on a daily basis. So this is, for example, on a fair, but again, these are our colleagues, so we have to build this fanship of our brand from the inside out. This is the first time we had the premises to do the event for the kids, for SIP kids, so they have been invited here last December with the parents. Yeah, you see the smiling faces, everybody getting a present with the name. So all the presents in our company, also for the employees, are with the name. It's not just you take it, but it says who you are, and it's meant for you. And this is our ambassadorship, also again in the same way. And as I said, we are in a build business, so if we have ambassadors, we are also using their products in our events. And Fleece is one of the farmers here very nearby, using all of our machinery, of course, so we are using majority of their products, and also for New Year's Eve, New Year's presents for employees, it's always their products that we get. So we create these so-called moments of truth. Walk the talk the walk, doesn't matter. That's what we really try to do. So there are a lot of brand elements, and of course you cannot have all of them, but there are some, and architecture is one of them that we built last, and now it's going through everything. So it's in a fair, it's this same feeling that we have to have when you come in the premises, when you go to our web page, when you come to our fair, when you go to our demonstrations. It's pretty much the same everywhere. So we have this defined, of course, the colors and everything, nothing new. But then also, as we are speaking about also the architecture and workplace design, we have also defined what are the materials, what are colors, and everything that we are about to use or not to use in whatever new we do. So nothing is just because I like it or my colleague likes it or the CEO likes it. We don't talk about liking, we just really talk. These are the brand rules, this is the design rules. Does it fit, does it not? If it doesn't, just go and do your work the way it needs to be done. So a little bit of before and after. So in the fair, like we said, and of course also the fair is pretty much something that we have here. We just didn't have before the place to put any of the machines inside. It was outside, whatever it was, because there was nothing. I'm going to show you where, how it looked like before where we are sitting right now. But these were the fairs, for example. This is one of the latest. The mower, for example, before, the biggest mower in the world right now, of course, everywhere grass. So the grass is our name of the game. You're going to have a lunch now in the place just across here. So that's how it looked when we started. We had this midway. We already knew what we want to achieve, so we bought some of the new stuff that we are still using, even though this place here was exactly on the same spot where we are right now, just the house was a different one. We just cut it, took it away, and then built something new. So it's old and new in between, and also here behind, maybe later on we will see how it looked. So also the cafeteria in between looked a little bit better. We just used the same tables as were there in the cafeteria before. We just changed the plates on them, you know. They were new, a little bit more modern. We put them in the blasting and then in the coloring. And yeah, it's also this circular, or whatever we say, sustainable way of working with everything that we have. And now, of course, yeah, I don't need to show all of these things. But for example, changing behavior also with environment. I think we have here a perfect example in the secretaries. Because it was closed before, you know, it's exactly the same table, everything exactly the same, but then when you open it, open all the space and everything, and then you also, of course, there are rules. Everything also here is in glass. Nobody can hide anything. And then it means you also have a little bit more order in your head, your minds are more clear, you know, you need to finish the work. When you clean the desk at the end of the day, you think, oh, this I haven't done, or whatever. But it's really, the environment is really changing the way people work, and that's why we were so really persistent in all of this, really thought through how it was. For example, the kitchen in the secretaries. I mean, it's, how can you find something here? And now it looks exactly the same place. So we have quite a lot of things that we are not building new, we just have to redo the old one, which is always harder, of course. But nevertheless, if you have the idea, if it's not what I like, you like, but it's really the rules, then it's rather easy. So we have all these things, like you see the presents with the names, every little detail is done in our way. All the videos that we have, and we have, of course, quite a lot of them, especially in the COVID times, we had to make quite a lot of them for our users because we were not able to be there on the market. And this is now the place where we are. So this is the cafeteria that you're going to go there. And we are sitting now in this part that has been cut here. And all the LKVs, how do you say, trucks, with machinery and everything, were driving here. So it would mean exactly here and between the two houses. And now it's closed here, so we don't need to go out when going eating and have this beautiful place. But that's exactly how it looked. It was very close toward the street, so nobody could know that we are a successful company behind it. There were actually, I was astounded when I heard after we built this and had people coming around, that they were really worried that SIP is going to go bankrupt because they could not see anything happening here behind the wall. So this is something that we did, opened, and then became also very much more attractive also for new employees. Before, when we had when we were looking for people, there were only a few, I mean, of course, different for different spots, but nevertheless, a few applications. But then even in the times where there were not a lot of people available, we really got, for example, for one spot, more than 100 applications, which is quite a lot. We were not used to that before. So it's really interesting what a visual aspect of a company can actually do and how much trust it can build if it's really well thought through. And this is also interesting for me. For example, this is just exactly the place we are sitting in. It's everything the same. So all the blocks and everything, just we said, okay, but that's not our brand, right? This is not this robustness and everything that we talked about. So it's all the same, it just looks different. It's just those small details that are doing this place into this one. And how it looks in the night, for example, it's really nice. We have we have a lot of pictures also taken from the community here, using this for their own purposes, for the village promotion also. And this is then for trucks. So what we had, how is it called, vratarna? Yeah, how would we be called in English? Vratarnica. The what house? Yeah, okay, whatever. So it's right behind there, and it's done in the exactly same way. So it's not something that we had before, you know, the really bad place. Like everything is good, all the chairs are good for the people sitting there. Very old desk, the desk that nobody else wanted to have them. Then we put them here to the. I mean, it was actually standing here up front, really, really bad, not just for the people that are coming, but also for the people sitting there. And now they have exactly the same premises like everybody else, their own kitchen, even though it's small, their own toilet, they don't need to go to the production site, you know, to go to the toilet, close the door and everything. So this is something that is actually changing then, because these are the outside people, the security, but nevertheless, it is something that is really important that, like I've asked Jasper before, we want to have it the same pretty much for all of them. So thank you very much. That's from my point, and you're very welcome then also really to go and see how things work in practice.
Thank you, Metka. Perfect timing.
Yeah, I see, the time's over.
Perfect. Do we have any, we have time for questions, of course. Any questions for Metka? Maybe I'll ask one while we're going. So this is a really naive question. Obviously, we need brand awareness for your facing outside for customers. But what's important of brand awareness inside for your employees? I think you touched on it about, is that sense of belonging, motivation? I know I work here. Why do you need to keep telling me I work here?
Yeah, because if I expect you to work with SIP on your heart, then you have to feel the SIP also inside. You know, like I have it almost on my heart. Yeah. Of course, I cannot deliver you a completely different experience that I expect from you to deliver to our customers. That's the main idea. I mean, yeah. Everything comes from inside out when we're speaking about the brand, and it's not like everything is good for ourselves, and then I actually expect of my colleagues then to work, I don't know how, completely different with top-notch on the outside. It doesn't work that way.
So you hear the phrase "living the brand"? Is it
yeah, I mean, I don't use the phrase "living the brand," but it's walk the talk, or I don't know. I mean. Yeah, we are SIP all the way.
Cut you in half and it's SIP in the middle.
Yeah.
Right.
I also have a question.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
So I know you're quite a traditional company, and probably the workers as well. Has it been hard to adjust for them to these new spaces, seeing as it's probably also older generations and very traditional in the manufacturing?
Yeah, actually, we had this experience, quite a lot of fear for the new ideas that we developed with you, actually, with your company. Yeah, we have had we still have the old premises back there on the other part of the production, where we had an archive. And then we said, let's try to rework this archive in this more open space environment, with this ceiling that is acoustic and with completely different floor and everything in glass and so on. So also view to the production. This is something that we have for both sides now. From those offices that we started first, and from these offices you can see the production and they can see us, which is also part of this change that we made. And really a lot of skeptical people, but then when some of them had to move from these premises there, it was like, we were not sure. And when we saw they would never want to come back to the old ones, it was like, okay, to go. Still there, I mean, not all the people had their own offices. So the same ones that didn't have them before in these premises still don't have them. But I think from this part, no, it was from the people that had to move or had to work in the new ones, there were not a lot of resistance, sorry. Not a lot of resistance. It was more at the beginning of the project. And it still is with some things that I really want to do, like I said, what we want to do in a production, because I think there's, especially in the name of sustainability and health, that we need to do quite a lot of things also for the people in the production. Of course, they have it much nicer there, and also the parking space. This is a huge advantage. Because it was really ugly before. It was just, the mud. In this type of weather, it was really the mud, really, really bad. It's always the question of, right? Always the question of parking. Now it's not enough of them, but at least they are nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sophie, do you have a question?
Thank you so much. Such a great presentation, and I think coming in here, it looks like a Tesla showroom. So very nice. I'm curious, I loved how you started with the strategy and obviously looking at your brand and where it was going and exploring the industry with us. In an industry that arguably was challenging and profitability obviously was a challenge, when you undertook this program, how did you work to get senior leadership on board? And what were some of the things or the tactics that you used, because obviously there was a budget spend for this, to really convince them that you did believe that this was the right move, in contrast, for example, product development or putting that money into something else?
The company 10 years ago, 12 years ago actually, was not profitable. Yeah. So the question is rather easy then, because if you want to go on in the same way, you know you're not going to make it. So there is this urge for the change. We know no changes happen unless there is an urge for change. So when you need to change, you're more open to it. But still, just as you ask, if there would not be the most important, and in our case, this is also the biggest owner for it, and had an experience in this way from years before, we could not have made it. So it's really important there, because I did not have to convince this one most important person in the process, but I had quite a lot of work with the rest of them. Because it's so different. It's really, is it needed, is it not? What the market is going to say. Is this the money that could be in a lower prices or whatever? I mean, these are the endless discussions I don't want to go in, because I think they're not worth it.
All right. One final question? Or no? Okay. So big round of applause for Metka.
Thank you. Thank you.